You hear it everywhere, right? AI is going to completely revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry. But there's so much hype out there. So in this explainer, we're going to cut through all that noise to get to the real strategy, the stuff that actually works. Let's separate the buzzwords from the real business breakthroughs.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a number that is, well, it's pretty mind-blowing. $254 billion. That's the potential annual operating profit AI could unlock for the pharma industry by 2030. No, that's not a typo. We're talking about a fundamental, ground-shaking shift in how this entire industry works.
So where does a number that big even come from? Well, it's not from some single magic bullet. As you can see here, that massive prize is spread out across the entire value chain. And, this breakdown is so important because it shows that AI is not a one-size-fits-all solution. The biggest piece of the pie, a cool $100 billion, is actually in manufacturing and the supply chain. But make no mistake, there are still huge opportunities in R&D and commercial operations.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to break it all down. First, we'll dive into that incredible promise. Then we're going to get real and look at the sobering reality of why so many projects fail. After that, we'll lay out a practical playbook for success. And finally, we'll see how the real winners get from just talking about hype to creating real, measurable value. All right, let's get into the good stuff. Let's dig a little deeper into where these massive gains are actually coming from. Because the potential here, when you get it right, is, well, it's truly transformative. So AI isn't just some vague future concept. It's already creating value in some very specific, really cool ways. I mean, think about drug discovery. It's now used to analyze these vast libraries of genetic data to find new drug targets, literally cutting research time from years down to months. Or in clinical trials, it helps design better studies and find the right patients way faster. It's even paving the way for personalized medicine. And listen, we are not talking about small, incremental improvements here. Just look at these numbers. We're talking about a 70% reduction in the cost of clinical trials, speeding up drug discovery by 25%, and boosting manufacturing productivity by up to 50%. These are absolutely game-changing numbers. Okay, so if the opportunity is this huge and the technology is this powerful, what's the catch? Why are so many companies struggling to actually capture this value? That's the billion-dollar question, right? And that's exactly what we're going to tackle next.
Get ready for this number, 80%. That is the percentage of AI projects in the healthcare space that fail to scale beyond the pilot phase. 80. They look amazing in a controlled lab environment, but they just fizzle out the moment they hit the messy reality of the real world. And believe it or not, it actually gets worse from there. Even for the projects that do manage to get deployed, a staggering 42% of them fail to deliver on their expected return on investment. That is just an incredible amount of wasted time, money, and talent. So what is going on here? Why the disconnect? Well, so often it all comes back to one thing: the data. Get this. Over a quarter of all FDA warning letters since 2019 have pointed to issues with data integrity. If your data foundation is shaky or unreliable, your shiny new AI is going to be just as unreliable. It's that classic garbage in, garbage out problem, but here the stakes are enormous.
And when you really dig into it, you see these failures aren't random. They usually fall into one of three big buckets. We just talked about the data crisis. But then you have the human barrier. People might not trust a black box algorithm making critical decisions. And finally, there's the scaling challenge. It's one thing to make AI work on one machine, but it's a whole different beast to make it work reliably across dozens of factories worldwide.
So this all sounds pretty tough, right? But there is a way through it. The companies that are actually winning aren't just buying more tech. They have a different strategy. They have a playbook that is specifically designed for the unique pressures and regulations of the pharmaceutical world. And that playbook is built around this idea of pharma-native AI. Now, what does that even mean? It means this is not your generic, off-the-shelf AI that was built for, say, e-commerce or finance. This is AI that has been built from the ground up, from day one, for pharma. It has regulatory compliance and explainability baked right into its DNA, not just bolted on as an afterthought.
This comparison really hits it home. On one side, you've got your standard, generic AI. It's all about moving fast, iterating quickly, and it kind of just assumes the data is perfect. But on the other side, Pharma native AI, it's built for something else entirely: trust. It's all about regulatory design, models that you can actually validate and explain to an auditor, and always keeping a human expert in the loop.
Okay, so how do you actually roll this out? You can't just flip a switch on the whole company overnight and hope for the best. The smart way to do it is with a really disciplined, phased approach like this. You start small on just a single production line, you prove the value, you build trust. Then you scale methodically. That's how you lower the risk and build unstoppable momentum in the organization.
And I can't stress this enough. The best technology in the world will fail if you don't get the people part right. You need everyone aligned from the top down. You absolutely need a powerful executive sponsor who can clear roadblocks, and you have to break down those old silos between R&D, manufacturing, and IT. This isn't a tech project, it's a full-on business transformation.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's look at what happens when a company actually gets this right. What do the results look like on the ground? Let's check out some companies that are absolutely crushing it. Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example. Johnson & Johnson's facility in India, they're part of this super elite group called the Global Lighthouse Network for a reason. By using this pharma-specific AI approach for predictive maintenance, they cut their unplanned production downtime in half. That is a huge, tangible win.
And look, success isn't just a vague feeling, it's measured. You track it with really specific key performance indicators, or KPIs. The goal isn't just to do AI. The goal is to achieve real-world results like these: a 40% jump in equipment effectiveness, an 80% reduction in costly quality deviations, and slashing changeover times by over 30%. That's real money, real efficiency. Now, here's a super important reality check. This kind of value, it doesn't just show up in the first quarter. It's a journey. As this timeline shows, you won't see a massive return in year one. But as the system scales and your team really masters this new way of working, that value starts to accelerate dramatically. It's all about playing the long game for those compounding returns. So let's bring it all home. What's the big takeaway here? The bottom line is this: winning in this new era requires a decisive shift. It's not about tinkering with technology around the edges. It's about making a full-throated, strategic commitment to a disciplined, pharma-native AI strategy.
Which really leaves every leader in this industry with a fundamental question. Are you going to stick with yesterday's playbook and risk being left behind? Or are you going to embrace this new model and unlock tomorrow's value? The choice really is yours. And it's a choice that will define the future of this industry.